Today we'll talk about using export templates within the PlexTrac platform. I'm going to navigate to templating.plextrac.com. This site has a lot of great useful information on how to utilize the templates. We have the opportunity to download a single scope template or a multi-scope. Multi-scope is when you have internal testing, external testing that you want to include in one report, whereas a single scope template would be a sole focus. The instructions for these templates are about the same, the difference being you tag findings based on the perspective for the multi-scope. I'm going to use that one. I'm going to download this template. Now let's work on adding it into the platform. I'm going to go to Account Admin, Templates. I'm going to choose Export Templates. I actually already have it in here. Let me just delete it. I'll show you how to upload it real quick. We'll drag it over and we'll upload it into the platform. Now we have it as an option. If we open up the template doc, you notice a lot of information that looks intimidating at first, but really all of these options are described in detail at templating.plextrac.com. So if we want to understand these display options and what they mean, this is displayed here. We have options for different cover pages, whether or not to display informational findings, etc. If we want to get more information, we can understand that if we want the cover page to be option 1 to appear like this, we leave it as option 1. If we change it to option 2, that's going to change the cover page within the template. Those options are all here. Now notice this scope definitions. This is where for findings, if you want to split them apart and show them based on their heading or their perspective, we would need to tag the findings, either internal, external, etc. You don't have to do any tagging for findings on the single scope version of this. Now if we scroll all the way down to the executive summary section, we notice these are the sections that our report template expects to have within the platform to display the data. So we need to go in and create a report template that contains these sections. It is case sensitive, so make sure they look the same. Let's go back to the platform and create a report template. I've put in a name. I'm going to associate now with the export template that we just uploaded. I've added these 3 report level custom fields and they're shortcodes. So I'm going to show you how to add shortcodes in a moment. I think it's a neat demonstration capability of the power of shortcodes. So I've created start date, end date, and report risk as a part of this template. We also notice the sections, introduction, methodology, so on and so forth. We see in my section text, I leverage shortcodes quite a bit. And I'm going to, again, dig into those shortly. We see them here in the introduction, and then if we go to the last section, we also see the client short name shortcode and report risk shortcode added to this text. Once you have your report template solidified, you can save it and close it down. Now before we dive in and start utilizing the report, I want to show you shortcodes. There are built-in shortcodes in PlexTrac like client name and report start, report end date. You can also create custom shortcodes. Under Account Admin and Shortcodes, you can create them at the client level as well as the report level. So I've created a client custom field called client short name. This is the format you use for shortcodes, and the label is client short name. I'm going to copy this label because as we create a client, I want to add that as a custom field. I'm going to create a client. I'm going to call this client Testing Company Inc. I want to add that custom field, client short name, and we're going to call this Testco. I'm going to create my client. And we're going to create a report. I'm going to choose the report template we created earlier, and that's going to fill in these custom fields. So for start date, I want to put in April 25th, 2022. And really the reason I have the different dates is just to demonstrate the difference between the built-in shortcodes and custom shortcodes. And in the report risk, you'll see why this matters in a moment, but for my pretend scenario, I'm going to say that this environment is at a high risk. We're going to submit this report. And now we notice we have our narrative section with shortcodes. We can search and replace these shortcodes. And the data now makes sense. We have our built-in dates. We have the custom shortcode dates here. We have the company name, full name, and short name. And down here, another example of using the short name as well as saying this environment is at a what risk? A high risk because of the variable we used. So before we generate a report, we need to ingest findings. Because this is multi-scope, any finding that we add or ingest with tools needs to be tagged. With the multi-scope report, if you don't tag findings, they won't show up in the report. I'm going to add some findings from Nessus, and I'm going to tag them as internal And then I'm also going to add findings in the tool. And this time I'm going to call them external. You really only need to tag the finding, but force of habit is making me tag both assets and findings. I'm going to bring in external and internal findings. And now we can generate our report. When we open up our generated report, we see our cover page with the company name and test name injected, and we see our content and how it's laid out. We see a separation between internal findings and external, and then we see the details. There's internal finding details, external finding detail. Hope this is useful so that you can understand how to utilize the templates.